Working in customer support is never easy. Working in tech support, I can't even imagine. Welcome to this episode of Tales from Tech Support. Our first tale is from TopsAround9243. I had a user once complain about her wired keyboard being too slow when typing. I figured it was some type of lag problem or other easily fixed performance problem. When I investigated, the user demonstrated the concern, but the keyboard was typing normal and there was no problem. The typing speed and all other settings were set properly, and the user never customized anything. Frankly, I was at a loss since I couldn't fix something that wasn't broken. Then I had an idea. I told the user I would be right back. I went and got a new keyboard, exactly the same one as being used. I went to the user and told her I figured out the problem. She was using a 100 MHz keyboard, and I brought her a 300 MHz keyboard. Yes, I was lying through my teeth. When I had her try it out, she was immediately happy, and was glad I solved the problem. The keyboard speed was the same as the one I replaced. This was the only time I ever flat out lied to a user, but I also knew the user was kind of a prima donna and needed some type of proof that her problem was being addressed. I mean, I look at it like if she was happy, then really in the end there was no harm done. Apparently her complaint went away and she was satisfied. Our next tale is by No Flies on Fergie. I was recently promoted to head of IT for a small law firm, meaning I'm a paralegal who is 10% better with computers than the attorneys I work with, so they think I'm a tech god. Don't worry, it came with a good raise in pay and lowering of required billed hours. We recently started offering mediations as a service, and it being 2025, we do many of these mediations and the meetings to prep for them over Zoom using fancy conference equipment. My office is right next to the conference rooms where the calls take place, so I can help out as quickly as possible if needed. As this is a new service that the firm really wants to work out, anything involved in this is top priority. At 9:55 a.m., a judge hosting a meeting comes running into my office, saying the meeting isn't working. I run in after him and find the camera working fine, the little fancy conference tablet working perfectly, and the TV displaying with no issue. I ask him what the issue is, and he says, "There's no one in the meeting yet, it isn't working." I ask him when the meeting is scheduled for, and just as he finishes saying 10 a.m., the first guest joins the meeting, at 9:57. He thought the conference equipment wasn't working because his clients were 3 minutes early, not 5. I'm new to this. It gets easier, right? I mean, I guess it's better to be early than to late to something, but I mean, not everybody functions that way, so unless they're actually late, I would just keep my cool. This next tale is from ITXNC. Customer walks in with a gaming rig. They want to double their RAM and brought a pair of identical 16GB sticks to what they already had, two 16GB in their 4-slot Z590 motherboard. But they have a massive cooler that covers most of the slots and are nervous about removing it. So could we do the RAM upgrade for them? Sure, no problem at all. This will take 15 minutes tops, so one of my techs takes it in the back and cleans it up. We always clean out systems that come in. Grounded vacuum, ESD straps, never touch the internals, compressed air. Pull the cooler off, insert the 2 new DIMMs, cooler back on, power up. Motherboard RAM error light comes on. System shuts off a minute later. Pull the new memory, same thing. Switch to the new memory, same thing. Put in bench memory, same thing. Swap DIMMs around in pairs and intermixed pairs, same thing. Reset BIOS, etc, etc. RAM error. Ugh, did the motherboard get zapped? We explain to the customer something unusual is going on with the motherboard. We'll get another in to swap out. The ASRock shutter board that they have is only available in China, so we grab a renewed MSI Z590. Few days later it arrives. We install it, put in the CPU and memory, RAM error LED lights up. Maybe the CPU memory controller got damaged somehow? So we order an identical CPU. It arrives, we install it. RAM error light. Both boards. My tech is dumbfounded, so she pulls out the open-air motherboard rig we have to start swapping stuff outside the case. Eventually manages to get into BIOS with a certain combination, but all 4 sticks seem to be a no-go. But progress. Fast forward and she decides to put all the original stuff back in the case with all the RAM and admit defeat. Presses power. System boots normally. Stress tests pass with flying colors. Reboots, cold power cycles, all systems go. I can't even begin to imagine what caused all of that. Maybe a standoff too close to a memory trace? We're going to look, but just a wild, simple repair that took on a life of its own. Needless to say, we're going to build a new rig with the parts we bought. That's gotta be frustrating, especially when you're tech savvy, you know what you're doing, and issues like this still keep occurring when you know you didn't damage any of the equipment yourself or anything like that. But I'm glad in the end it all ended up working. This next tale is by Muspel. So, at my work, there was a recent project to replace our aging fleet of printers across the organization. This was a pretty big undertaking, but we had a good team working on it. After planning out all of the things that would need to happen for the swaps to happen seamlessly, it was decided that we would start replacing the printer in the IT department. That way, it won't upset anyone else if something goes wrong. It's close by and everyone in IT knows about the project, so they'll report any issues instead of ignoring them. The new IT printer is set up, and after about a week, there's been no issues. Great! We move forward and replace the next printer. Suddenly, we're getting a bunch of problems. Nothing about this printer should be any different, so there's a frantic hour or two before someone on the systems team thinks to check the IT printer. Turns out it has the same problems. It's just that nobody in IT ever has any reason to print anything, so it didn't actually get used at all during that week-long testing period. Luckily, the problems were minor and quickly fixed, and the rest of the rollout went fine. But it was an important lesson on the difference between asking, does the printer work, and did anyone have any problems with the printer? That does make a lot of sense. If they hook up a printer that doesn't get used, of course nobody's going to report any problems. I'm glad the rest of the rollout went fine though. And our final tale is from Honey Fix It. I don't formally work in IT. I have my own side business, mostly helping seniors and older adults muddle their way through the technology landscape. Many of my clients are from a retirement community 5 to 7 minutes down the road from me, including one very sweet old lady who's like a third grandmother to me. Her daughter visits from DC about once a month to help her mom with stuff, and I'll go over and visit. Invariably, she'll pull out her laptop and ask why it's running slow. So I'll take a look, and she's got 15 to 20 Word documents opened, a third of which each. So I explain it to her. You have too many things open at once, clogging your computer's memory. I open Task Manager and say, you're using 80 to 85% of your computer's memory. Basically, you've created a gridlock in your computer. I've learned to use real-world examples to explain computer processes because it helps people understand what's happening. Okay, so I need to close some tabs. I said, no, you need to close all your tabs and windows. You can't read 15 articles at once, so why do you need 15 open? So she writes it down and says, okay, I can do that. A month later, she's back complaining that her computer is still slow, but she's got all these windows open again. I just shake my head and wonder why I'm so nice. Unfortunately, sometimes people are set in their ways and they can be really stubborn. Maybe those 15 tabs that she had open were all being read at the same time. Who knows? Alright, that's enough tales for the day. Well, that wraps up this episode of Tales from Tech Support. If you liked the video, please drop a like, share my content on all of your social media, subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure to hit that bell so you're notified every time I upload, and drop a comment down below. It really helps with the algorithm and helps new people find my channel. Thanks for watching, thanks to my patrons and super thanks contributors, Have a great day and stay safe out there.